Hey, what's up, YouTube? I want to do a quick video here on just, quick question as far as should you mod your knife or customize it or should you not? Right now, what you see on the table is a Cold Steel American Lawman, and this knife has been, I guess a little bit modified. I've done a couple things to it, and the question is, like I said, should you or should you not? Well, it all depends. Um, for me, I say if you feel like certain knives you own that you don't really mind, if you, I don't know, I want to say mess up, but if you just want to experiment on some of the knives you have, why not? I started out with cheaper knives that look kind of bland and boring, and one day I think I had an aluminum frame CRKT Outrage, and it was getting all dinged up and beat up. So one day I just sanded the scales down and started heat treating the clip and the screws, and to give it that kind of rainbow effect, and it came out actually pretty nice. So ever since then, I've been kind of doing little stuff to my knives just to kind of personalize them. Now I don't do this with every knife, but why not? I mean, it's your knife. If you don't plan on selling it or anything like that, why not? So just for example here, like I said, this is the Cold Steel Lawman. Now originally with this knife, it's funny because you do one thing and then it kind of spirals out of control and you start doing lots of other things, for me anyway. So this is a work knife for me, so that's why it's real dirty and scuffed up and all that good stuff. But what made me want to do something to this knife originally is the lockback is super stiff on this particular Cold Steel. I have a couple other Cold Steels that aren't that stiff. So anyway, this one was the FDE version with the CTS XHP steel. So anyway, this had some really sharp 90-degree angles here. So every time I would depress this back lock, it was like super uncomfortable. So I said, you know what, I should round this out. And that's what I did. Took it apart, rounded it out. You can see that there. See if we can get you in a little bit. Not a super professional job or nothing by any means, but you know what? I didn't really give it all my effort either. I just kind of smoothed it around the edges and it works a hell of a lot better, a lot more comfy. So then I did that, and then next thing you know, I spray painted it. I gave it a little bit of green here, and then a little bit of the like coyote tan or something here, and it still has the original brown or FDE right here, which is kind of hard to see. You can kind of get an idea there. And then I didn't really like the how it said Lawman right here, real big and kind of cheesy. So I took a little sandpaper. I forget, I think it was like 200 grit or something like that, and I sanded that off. And then it ended up looking actually pretty sweet. I was like, oh wow, it looks kind of nice. And like I said, this is beater knife, so whatever. You kind of experiment. Then I heated the clip and the hardware to give it this kind of look. Just kind of makes it my own personal deal. I cut these notches out here, which they don't even line up with the scales because I didn't even think about it. I had the knife apart and I just added a couple extra little jimps, I guess, there. And it works, And I scuffed at the hardware here when I took it apart, so the circle, or you got that kind of chrome looking, or that satin ring around the hardware, which looks kind of cool to me, right here. Something a little different. Like I said, this is a beater knife for me, so I didn't really care. Um, just doing a little bit of something to personalize your knife is never a bad thing if that's what you want to do. I'm not telling you to go out and grab your knife and do it, but if you got a beater knife that's kind of boring or whatever, I'm kind of encouraging you to go for it. If there's something you want to do, why not? Not, as long as you don't do something ridiculous to it or something. But a lot of guys bend their clips out if they're too tight, that's kind of a form of modifying your knife, But if you want to give it some character or personalize it, I don't think there's another Lawman that looks exactly like this at all. I mean, I highly doubt it. So it's kind of neat that this one is its own kind. And then I took a Dremel, actually. See, that back lock is super stiff. But I took a Dremel and I just started kind of doing some little designs. I just kind of did a freehand. Nothing crazy. Nothing specific. Looks a little jittery or whatever. Don't care. But, it looks cool. I like it. Kind of give it its own personality. a little custom knife. Now there's a couple knives that I wouldn't do anything to. For example, something like this, the SOCOM Elite. There's nothing I would want to do to this knife. So I mean, if I did want to do something to it, I would, like maybe heat this titanium clip or the titanium lock bar, you know, but I don't really want to do anything to this knife. So you know, this is an example for me of a knife that I wouldn't do anything to. Not that it's super expensive or anything, because if I really wanted to do something personal to it, I would. I don't care. I wouldn't ruin the knife, in my opinion. I wouldn't take from the functionality of it if I just do some aesthetic, you know, stuff to it. But I like the way this knife looks just the way it is. Now here's another example of a knife that I customized a little bit. The Spyderco Spidey Chef. This knife was awesome. It still is awesome to me, but it was super boring. You know, some people like that, and that's fine. You know, that plain titanium, you know, you got the satin blade, and then this just kind of gray titanium that's boring. So this one here, I took a pencil torch, and I took the knife apart, and I started torching some spots on it. The lighting is probably not catching it. I got some yellow lighting right now, so it's not the greatest, but you got some blues, some purples in there. And then once again, I took the Dremel and I just kind of etched some lines in there, and it actually came out looking almost like thunder or something. And it really wasn't my intention. I just kind of started going, with the flow, and I was like, let me add some little lines there, and it actually came out looking like thunder or something almost. So that's a little custom thing I did, and I like it a lot more now. It just has that personality, and no one in the world has this exact scales, you know. You might like it, you might not. I don't care. You know, I like it, I did it, and that's my point. You know, if you want to do something for your knife, why should you have the same exact knife everybody else has? Or why should you pay, you know, a random company for special hardware that somebody else probably bought too? Spend an extra 20 bucks on a clip, unless you know, really obviously need the clip or want a different clip. That's understandable. But you know, some people pay 20 bucks, 30 bucks for little screws that are blue or whatever. Okay, cool, that's fine. That's fine too. Nothing against that. You know, whatever you feel necessary to customize your knife or personalize it is always a cool thing. But you know, with the screws, somebody else could also have done that, and then, you know, it'll be rare for you to find someone with that same setup, but it's possible. Whereas this, no one has the same setup. It's completely custom by me. So you know, that's another example. Here's another example of a knife that I wouldn't do anything to. This is the Paragon Warlock. Now this knife, I don't have any reason to do anything to this, in my opinion. It's already got a really cool, you know, look to it, and you know, even though somebody else might have the same exact knife, which I'm sure they do, it doesn't bother me. This one, I just don't have any reason to do anything to it. I just really like the way it is. So, you know, my point is basically, some knives you have that you really like and you don't want to mess with, but the knives that you do feel like, this is a little bland, this is a little... doesn't really do it for me too much. I might like the knife a lot, but aesthetically, it's just not doing it for you. Go for it. Do something different to it. Don't be afraid to experiment on your knife. Why not? It's your knife. There's another example, which isn't a knife or anything, but I actually have. This is an unloaded firearm, by the way. My carry piece, a Glock 26 Gen 4. I gave it this paint, looked up a video on YouTube, painted it up, scuffed it up, gave it my own little custom paint job, added a trigger, you know, obviously. A lot of people do that. Added some sights, a lot of people do that. Customized this back plate, and then I took a Dremel and I did this myself. I cut this out with the Dremel, and I cut this out, you know, these little relief cuts, so that when I get a grip on the gun, my fingers kind of go up into the frame more, and I get a better grip on it. And then when I have my hand here, the trigger guard sits just a little bit lower, since it's material removed there. So it makes the firearm basically sit a little bit lower in my hand, which, you know, is cool for me. Whatever. I don't plan on selling it, and it works great. So I did it, and that's all there's to it, you know. I mean, don't be afraid to customize your stuff, guys, if you want. I mean, a lot of people out there have the same stuff, and they kind of you know, might be thinking about it or maybe not thinking about it, I just want to do a quick video on if you want to do something to customize your personal, you know, EDC or whatever it might be, pens, whatever you could think of, why not shoot for it? Until then, let me know what you guys think, how you guys feel about that, and I'll see you guys next time in the next video. Later, guys.